Marc, Grandi with you, and we are just about an hour and a half away from tip-off. Warriors and the Clippers getting set to do battle from Chase Center. Welcome into Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Pleasure to be with you here on this Sunday afternoon as we get ready for the Warriors' third game of the year. They're 2-0, and they have been dominant in their first two games so far this season. The Clippers, they come in 1-1. They lost their home opener back on Wednesday, and that was not just the home opener, but the first ever regular season game at their brand new home down in Inglewood, California, the Intuit Dome. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later on here on Warriors Live. Then they were in action last night in Denver. Talk about a tough back-to-back for the Clippers. Last night in Denver, and they won that game, and then tonight against the Warriors here at Chase Center. You go from the mile-high city elevation, you travel overnight to get to the Bay Area, and now you take on a Warrior team that's sitting on a day off. They last played on Friday, traveled back that night, had yesterday off, and they're gearing up for an evening tip-off tonight at Chase Center against these Clippers. We will get to all of that. We'll break it all down. It's a special hour-long edition of Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game because it's the home opener. We got to go for 60 minutes instead of just 30 as usual here on Warriors Live. So I'm with you up until 5 o'clock. Then I'll hand things off to Tim Roy and company. They'll take you up until tip-off, which will come shortly after 5:30. And I'll be back with you for post-game Warriors wrap-up, as always, here on 95.7 The Game. You're listening on the radio on your way into Chase Center. You're driving in right now. You watch it on YouTube, on Twitch, wherever you might be tuning in from. You might hear some of the background noise. You might see where I'm sitting right now if you are watching on YouTube. And I'm at K Fico Pizzeria, the brand new establishment here at Thrive City outside of Chase Center. They've got other locations around San Francisco. They opened this location here at Thrive City on October 9th. They're open for dinner Tuesday through Friday from 5 to 9 and Saturday and Sunday from 4 to 9 and extended hours on Chase Center event days such as today. They're the latest retailer to open at Thrive City. And I got to tell you, the view that I'm looking at right now is amazing. They've been bringing out some samplers for me to taste as well. Pepperoni pizza, that's calling my name. I'll get to that when we take a break in like 25 minutes around 4:30. Their Italian sub, they've got sandwiches, they've got salads, they've got pizzas, but maybe the selling point here is the view. We're situated here at K Fico Pizzeria on the east side of Chase Center, overlooking the bay, and to my left I can see the Bay Bridge. And it is a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in San Francisco, and K Fico Pizzeria has a nice setup here at Thrive City. More on that coming up later on here on Warriors Live as we continue to get set for Warriors and Clippers. Tip-off is at 5:30, and I'm with you until 5 here on 95.7 The Game. Okay, so the Warriors, again, they're 2-0, right? The Clippers come in at 1-1. How about some of the numbers for the Golden State Warriors in their first couple of games so far this year? It honestly has been incredible what they've been able to accomplish. How about this? Per Elias Sports Bureau, the Warriors are the first team to win each of their first two games of the season by at least 35 points. The Warriors won by 36 at Portland on Wednesday and then followed it up with a 41-point victory at Utah on Friday. That combined margin of victory in those two games, if I can do that quick math, 77 points. That's the largest margin of victory through two games in NBA history, surpassing the 2017-28 Portland Trail Blazers, who outscored opponents by 66 points through two games. And by the way, the head coach of the Blazers that season, now assistant coach for the Golden State Warriors, Terry Stotts. But it has been a historic beginning to the season for the Golden State Warriors, and you might say, well, it's just the Blazers and it's just the Jazz. And that's fair. We're going to find out more about this Warrior team tonight. This, I think, is a better Clipper team than either of the two teams the Warriors just played, although the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard, and we'll get to that coming up on the injury report in just a little bit. We'll learn a little bit more tonight. We'll learn more, I think, Tuesday and Wednesday when the Warriors welcome the Pelicans into town for a back-to-back, kind of like a mini baseball series. You have back-to-back nights against the same team, Tuesday and Wednesday against the Pelicans. That should be a lot of fun here, and you can find all the action on 95.7 The Game as well for that one. But you're right. Let's not pretend that Portland or Utah are quality basketball teams. Portland specifically might be a little more interested in losing basketball games this season as opposed to trying to go out there and win. But when you play teams like that, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to win, and you're supposed to win handily. And again, 77 points is the Warriors' combined margin of victory through 2 games, the most to begin a season through 2 games in NBA history. If you are a good team, and the Warriors are trying to prove that they are, you beat bad teams like that, and the Warriors did that. All you can control is play who is on your schedule and play as well as you can against those teams. And through 2 games, the Warriors have passed those tests with flying colors. So, a great start for the Warriors, but you got to keep it up, and you got to get the job done at home. Odd, because the Warriors 2 years ago, you think back to the year following the championship. So this was the 2022-23 season. That was the season that was marred by the preseason training camp scuffle between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole, and then all the drama of that regular season. And there were, up and down portions of the year, but they were an incredible team at home. That Warriors team was the 2022-2023 team. But they were historically bad on the road, right? And they managed to fight through it all. They ultimately won a Game 7 on the road in the playoffs, led by Stephen Curry, who put up 50 points in that game. They lose in the second round to the Lakers. We all know the history. But that's what it was 2 years ago. The Warriors, a great home team, and one of the worst road teams in the NBA. Last year, the script was flipped. The Warriors were at home, and for their standards, very bad at home. I mean, this historically has been one of the best, if not the best, home team in the league ever since Steve Kerr arrived. They were not very good at home last year, and they were one of the best road teams in the league last year, especially in the second half of the season. And that trend continued the first 2 games of this year. The Warriors' dominant wins on the road, their first 2 times out this season. We'll see if they can get back on track at home and play a little bit more like they did the championship year in 2021-22 and the year following, even when there were so many other struggles in 2022-23 when they defended home court very, very often. They did not do that a lot last year. That is an area they're going to have to get better at this year, and this is their first test as the Clippers come to town to take on the Warriors in the Dubs home opener here in 2024-25. Okay, I teased it a second ago. Let's get to it. It is our injury report, which is brought to you by Boxer & Gerson, Northern California's premier workers' compensation law firm, helping injured workers get their lives back for over 40 years. For more information, visit boxerlaw.com. And how about this? I mean, this is a good sign. This is how you want it to be at this stage of the season. You're 3 games in, as we've talked about. It's your regular season home opener. You should be healthy, and the Warriors are. It is an empty injury report for the Warriors tonight. It's just a good sign because there were a few Warriors on the injury report back on Friday, even though everybody did play. If you remember, Steph Curry was dealing with a right hip contusion, Draymond Green a left knee contusion, and D'Anthony Melton a chest contusion. They were all on the injury report Friday against Utah, but they all played. No one is on the injury report for the Warriors today. The only names that even show up are the guys on 2-way contracts, but they're just not elevated for this game. That has nothing to do with injury status. They're just not elevated for this game. But every Warrior that is available to play, that is on the roster and potentially expected to play all 14 of the guys that have played each of the last 2 games, they are available and they are ready to go for action tonight for the Golden State Warriors. So that is good news, an empty injury report for the Warriors. Meanwhile, for the Clippers, as I already hinted at this, Kawhi Leonard is out with right knee inflammation, and this is just a really sad story for one of the best players in the NBA. He hasn't played this season, missed the first 2 games of the year, and he's out indefinitely. There's not really any timetable for his return. The reporting is that Kawhi Leonard is expected to be out for, quote, an extended period of time with right knee inflammation. This was the same issue, I would imagine, that kept him out of the Summer Olympics in Paris. He had to pull himself out of Team USA before the Olympics began with this issue. And it's kind of become a bigger story because if you remember, or not if you remember, it's been a big story the last couple of days. Former Clippers trainer Randy Shelton is suing the Clippers for wrongful termination, claiming he was dismissed for raising concerns over the treatment of Kawhi Leonard and the treatment that he was receiving for his injury. So an interesting, strange story coming out of the Clippers, a trainer who they let go is now suing the franchise, claiming that he was dismissed for raising concerns over some questionable treatment of Kawhi Leonard that he was receiving for his injury. So keep an eye on that story as it develops. But as far as the Warriors are concerned, all you got to know is Kawhi Leonard is out tonight. He hasn't played this year, and he's expected to be out for, again, quote, an extended period of time. That means the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard. We already know Paul George is no longer a Clipper, so two of their better players from last year will not be playing tonight for the Clippers, one because of an injury, and again, one because he's no longer a Clipper. Also out for the Clippers is one of their offseason acquisitions, Mo Bamba. You remember him from the Lakers, maybe earlier than that on the Magic. He's out as he continues to deal with left knee soreness. He has not yet played this season, and I think his injury is nowhere near as serious as Kawhi's, but the Clippers have not provided a timetable for his return either. So Mo Bamba is out as he continues to deal with left knee soreness, and Kawhi Leonard out with right knee inflammation. So that's the story for the Clippers tonight. No Kawhi, no Mo Bamba. Let's get to know the Clippers a little bit, though, as we continue here on Warriors Live. Marc, Grandi with you on 95.7 The Game. Tip-off a little over an hour away. I'm with you until 5 o'clock here on 95.7 The Game. Then Tim Roy will take over and take you up to tip-off just shortly after 5:30. It is a little bit of a new-look Clippers team. Again, Paul George walked in free agency. There's all the reporting about what happened during the offseason when the Clippers were potentially interested in executing a sign-and-trade with the Golden State Warriors. There was more recently, within the last week, the story that the Warriors thought that they could acquire Paul George and retain enough assets to then turn around and acquire Lauri Markkanen from the Jazz, who the Warriors saw on Friday in Salt Lake City and absolutely dominated, winning that game by 41 points. Neither happened for Golden State, but the frustrating part, I think, was just because the Clippers did not want to play ball. And it's an interesting decision for the Clippers because reportedly the Warriors are one of the few teams that were interested in making a sign-and-trade work, and that's the only way the Warriors could acquire Paul George because of their standing against the salary cap. They could just not go out and sign a player to a max contract. So they needed to be creative and work out a sign-and-trade, and for a sign-and-trade to work, of course, you need the team that the player is coming from to agree to it. And the Clippers seemingly had no interest in negotiating with the Golden State Warriors in that regard. So as a result, that sign-and-trade did not happen. Paul George walked in free agency. He signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. He suffered a knee injury in the preseason, hasn't played yet this year, but we'll see how he plays as a 76er this season and into the future as he signed a multi-year max contract with the Philadelphia 76ers. But interesting there for the Clippers, they would have rather let Paul George walk away than at least get something in return from the Golden State Warriors. Also part of this, I think, for the Clippers that I think a lot of us forget about is they're also in salary cap hell, or at least they were last year, much like the Golden State Warriors. And maybe you just want to get out of all of that money, even if it means getting nothing back in return, because for the Warriors and Clippers to make a Paul George sign-and-trade work, the Clippers would have to have taken back like equal money, which means they would still be paying as much money as they were last year to those groups of players. And maybe they just wanted to get out of all that money, even if it meant not getting anybody in return. Plus, there's also the side of this where maybe the Clippers just not trying to help their rival, the Golden State Warriors, become better that quickly. So I think both of those are reasons for why the offseason played out the way that it was. And you can understand if you're the Clippers. I stumbled across this stat earlier today. How about this? The best records in the NBA since 2011-2012. This is going way back. Since 2011-2012. The best records in the NBA. The Warriors have the best record. The Clippers have the second best record. I know that might surprise you, but the Clippers have steadily been, at the very least, a playoff team for a very long time now. It goes back to the Lob City era Clippers when it was Paul George and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and J.J. Redick, right, and all of those players. They won a lot of basketball games. They always flamed out in the postseason, and that has been the story for the Clippers since then as well, even in this Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden era. But they have the second best record in the NBA since 2011-2012. That is an extended period of time. Only the Warriors have a better winning percentage, a better record since the beginning of the 2011-2012 season than the Clippers. In third is Boston, in fourth is Miami, in fifth is Oklahoma City. In that time, the Warriors have won titles. The Clippers have not. Boston has won championship. Miami has won championship. Oklahoma City has not. But three of those top five have at least turned it into one championship. The Clippers, with the second best record in that timeline, they have not won a championship, but they've been steady in the regular season. They just haven't been able to get that kind of success in the postseason. So I bring up that number and that statistic just to I think that makes a little bit more sense in terms of why the Clippers might not have been willing to play ball with the Golden State Warriors. The only team that has won more regular season games than the Warriors since 2011, or more regular season games than the Clippers since 2011, is the Golden State Warriors. So if you're the Clippers, if you're Steve Ballmer, decision maker with the Clippers, why would you be willing to help out your rivals and the only team that has won more games than you during that stretch by taking a couple of players just to allow Paul George to go to the Warriors? So for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Paul George is not a Clipper. He's not a Warrior, and he's now a member of the 76ers. And why I say at least new look for the Clippers for now, it's because, again, as we talked about, Kawhi Leonard is also out. He has not played so far this season and is out indefinitely with right knee inflammation. So how about the Clippers offseason as a whole, right? We know about the Warriors. You let Klay Thompson go. Chris Paul, you allow that contract slot to expire. He leaves. He's now a member of the Spurs. Klay is on the Thunder. You bring in DeAnthony Melton. You bring in Buddy Hield. You bring in Kyle Anderson. You acquire Quentin Post by essentially buying the draft pick that you traded away to acquire Lindy Waters. You got some new faces. That's the Warriors offseason in a nutshell. Meanwhile, the Clippers, you lose Paul George. You trade away Russell Westbrook to Utah. Utah then waived him. Westbrook then signed by Denver. So the Clippers beat Russell Westbrook and Denver in Denver last night. The Clippers also lost Mason Plumlee, who's now with Phoenix, and Daniel Tice, who's now with the Pelicans. Meanwhile, the Clippers, they add Mo Bamba, who, as we've talked about already, is out tonight and has not played yet this year. You also signed Nick Batum, who was with the Clippers previously, but not last year. He was with Philadelphia last year. Returns to the Clippers, Nick Batum does. You acquire Chris Dunn, who's, I was going to say a young guard, but he's been in the league for a while now. Minnesota and Chicago, he's been around a little bit. He was in Utah. They traded him to the Clippers in that Westbrook deal. So Chris Dunn is now a Clipper. Derrick Jones Jr. was one of their big offseason acquisitions. He was signed as a free agent from Dallas. He was instrumental in Dallas's postseason success last year, going all the way to the finals. They also signed free agent Kevin Porter Jr., who's been in some trouble with the league. He was previously with Houston, and they don't have a first-round pick because we know what happened when they acquired Paul George from Oklahoma City back in the day. They gave away essentially all of their first-round picks into the future. They did not have a first-round pick this year. They drafted Cameron Christie in the second round. That's all their additions including re-signing James Harden, Ivica Zubac, and Terrence Mann and Kai Jones. So it is a new-look Clippers team. No more Paul George. No more Russell Westbrook. Kawhi is currently out. You add in a couple of veteran pieces like Nick Batum. You get Mo Bamba. You get Chris Dunn. You re-sign James Harden. It is a new-looking team right now. And as of now, without Kawhi, there's no doubt that this is James Harden's basketball team. They're 1-1 so far. They opened their season on Wednesday at the Intuit Dome against the Suns, the first regular season NBA game at the Intuit Dome ever, and it is an amazing venue. I do recommend trying to get down there when the Warriors are visiting the Clippers. It looks like an incredible place. But they lost that game in their first ever home game by 3 points to the Suns. James Harden, though, had 29 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, but he also turned the ball over 8 times. The big man, Zubac, had 21 points and 9 rebounds. Norm Powell, 17 points. We know him, of course. Spent some time in Toronto and in Portland. Now has been with the Clippers for a few years. He struggled to shoot the ball, but he bounced back last night. We'll get to that in a second as well. But that was how the Clippers opened their season, with a close loss at home to KD, Devin Booker, and the Phoenix Suns. But the Intuit Dome made a little bit of noise in its debut. If you're unaware, just Google search the Intuit Dome and the Wall, because what what Steve Ballmer and the Clippers have essentially decided to do is try to make the Intuit Dome as big of a home court advantage as possible. And why not? I mean, you're spending $2 billion on an arena. Why not make it help your basketball team as much as possible? Essentially what they've done at the Intuit Dome, which is the new home of the Clippers, behind one of the backboards, they have what they call the wall, where it's just like continuous rows of seating, like straight from courtside, and it's really steep. So if you are on the court on that half of the floor, or if you're shooting a free throw, which is what it's designed for, you feel like the fans are like right on top of you. It's a very steep climb, and there's like no courtside seating there. There's like no walkway. There's no little concourse. It's just seating. Straight, a bunch of rows of seating, really steep, and those fans are right on top of you, and of course they're cheering very, very loud. It's not only that, but they're also actively recruiting the craziest, loudest, most rowdy fans to sit in those seats. Kevin Durant missed some free throws. Devin Booker missed some free throws. Very early returns, of course, just one game at the new Intuit Dome, the new home of the Clippers, at least one regular season game, that is. But it seemed to work. It seemed to work for the Clippers in that one. It'll be interesting to see how it affects the Warriors when the Warriors play the Clippers in L.A., technically in Inglewood, California, for the first time at the Intuit Dome this season. Its capacity is 18,000. Again, it cost $2 billion. It broke ground over 3 years ago now in September of 2021. They're going to host not this season's NBA All-Star Game because that will be right here at Chase Center, but they will host the 2026 NBA All-Star Game, and it will also be the basketball venue for the 2028 Summer Olympics. So the Intuit Dome, you'll be seeing a lot of it in the future. It looks like an amazing facility, the new Clippers home, and it's kind of strange. Clippers and Lakers no longer sharing a building. They've been sharing what was Staples Center, now Crypto.com Arena, for such a long time. The Clippers now have their own arena. You don't have to cover up all the Lakers banners for every Clippers game. This is nice for the Clippers, no doubt. They certainly needed it. We'll see if they have a good home court advantage this season. Just one game in, they lost that one to the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant and the Phoenix Suns. But we are getting ready for tip-off here from Chase Center. I'm live from Thrive City as checking out one of the new restaurants at Thrive City. And it's a beautiful location. I'm at Que Fico Pizzeria. They opened their new Thrive City location on October 9th, so been here for a few weeks now. It's on the east side of Chase Center, and I'm set up in the outside bar area. They've got, 10 flat-screen TVs showing any of the sports of the day. Right now, of course, we got the tail end of the afternoon NFL games. I see Caleb Williams running for his life as we speak, but maybe more important than the view of the televisions is the view of the bay. Looking east on the east side of Chase Center, overlooking the bay. To my left, I see the Bay Bridge. It is a beautiful sight. This place is packed. They got special hours for Chase Center event days, but generally they're open for dinner Tuesday through Friday from 5 to 9, and Saturday and Sunday from 4 to 9 p.m., and they've got salads, they've got sandwiches, they've got pizza. It is, of course, a pizzeria after all, Que Fico Pizzeria. They got other locations in the city, but this is their newest one here at Thrive City, and it is a great environment just outside of Chase Center. A lot of fans stopping by on their way into the arena, grabbing themselves something to eat, something to drink before heading into the arena and watching the Warriors home opener against the Clippers here, which is now about an hour away on 95.7 The Game. All right, time for a quick break here on Warriors Live. When we come back, we'll get into more. I do have to give you my take it to the bank prediction. This, to me, feels like a lock. We'll go over that. We've got to also discuss the Warriors and their starting lineup and different combinations that they can turn to. It's been a hot topic so far for the Warriors this season, despite the fact that they've won their two games by a combined 77 points. There's still a lot of conversations about whether the Warriors are playing the right guys, the right combination, starting the right guys, and who knows what the closing lineup might look like. We haven't had a close game yet through two games. In fact, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and the majority of the starters haven't even played in the fourth quarter yet this season. So maybe all of the starting lineup conversation will die down a little bit if we get a closing unit group that looks a little bit different. because ultimately it might not matter what the starting lineup is. It might be more important who closes. And really, through 2 games, the starting lineup has only played like the first 6 minutes of each half together. So we're talking about like 24 minutes of basketball over the course of 2 games. The first 6 minutes of the first quarter, the first 6 minutes of the third quarter. That's about it for that group. We will see if that continues tonight. If it changes, I don't think we'll see a different starting lineup. But again, maybe if it's a close game down the stretch, we will see a lineup to close the game that's different than the lineup the Warriors used to start the game. All right, time for a break here on Warriors Live. When we come back, we'll talk more. I got my prediction to get to, and we'll break down lineups. It's Warriors Live, presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. Marc, Grandi with you here, live from Thrive City as we get set for Warriors basketball here on 95.7 The Game.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station,
95.7 The Game. Marc, Grandi with you as we are approaching kickoff for the first time. Or kickoff, excuse me. I got my mind on football. There is, of course, Sunday Night Football going on tonight here in the Bay Area as well. Getting ready for tip-off for the first time this season from Chase Center as the Warriors play host to the Clippers. Warriors 2-0. Clippers are at 1-1. Warriors Live continues. Marc, Grandi with you, presented by Xfinity at home or on the go. You'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices, and you might hear some noise behind me. It's because I'm at Fico Pizzeria, brand new location here at Thrive City, just outside of Chase Center. We've got a band playing in the background, greeting fans as they walk in the arena. This location here at Fico Pizzeria, it opened on October 9th. Here at Thrive City, their newest location in the city, and it's on the east side of Chase Center. If you're familiar with Thrive City, like you know where the gatehouse is, you know where the Warriors team store is on the opposite side of Chase as that. So it's a little secluded, but you get a view of the bay. I'm looking out on the bay right now. I can see the Bay Bridge off to my left, and I'm sitting in their outside bar area where they've got flat screen TVs all over the place. Watching the end of some NFL action right now. They've got heaters up above, so on the cold nights here, the wind off the bay, it's not going to affect you. It's a really nice location here at Thrive City. It's Fico Pizzeria. I tried their pepperoni pizza. I recommend that. They've got sandwiches and subs. They've got hors d'oeuvres. It's a cool place. Fico Pizzeria here at Thrive City, just outside of Chase Center as we gear up for tip-off between the Clippers and the Warriors, which is now about an hour away. Tip-off at 5:30 or just a little bit after. Tim Roy takes over in 30 minutes here on 95.7 The Game. I'll take you up to the top of the hour at 5 o'clock, and then I'll be back with you for post-game. Warriors wrap up maybe after the Warriors' third consecutive win to begin the season, and if the first two games of the year are any indicator, then they should win this basketball game. They have won each of their first two games by 35 points at least, marking the first time in NBA history a team has done that. And through two games, their margin, points scored minus points allowed, positive 77. That's the highest margin of victory through two games in NBA history. Not just in Warriors franchise history, but in NBA history. So it has been a historic start for the Warriors in this one, and they'll look to keep it going tonight. And Vegas has responded as well. The Warriors are 9.5-point favorites against the Clippers. How about that? Vegas expects the Warriors to be able to control this game. We will see if they're able to get it done tonight as the Warriors play host to the Clippers here on Warriors Live here on 95.7 The Game. Okay, I told you the injury report earlier. I'll just go over that really quickly one more time before we do move on. The Golden State Warriors, they got an empty injury report tonight. Meanwhile, the Clippers, they're without Kawhi Leonard and Mo Bamba. Of course, the Clippers, they're also playing without Paul George, who's no longer a Clipper anymore, but no Kawhi Leonard, no Mo Bamba for the Clippers tonight. Okay, let's get to our Take It to the Bank prediction. Our Take It to the Bank prediction tonight, of course, it comes courtesy of Fremont Bank, full-service banking with no compromises. And for me, this is a simple one. It's ride the hot hand for the Golden State Warriors tonight. I will go over 2.5 made three-pointers for Buddy Hield tonight. How about these numbers for Buddy through 2 games with the Golden State Warriors? This is an amazing set of numbers here. Through 2 games, Buddy Hield has scored a total of 49 points in his first 2 games as a Warrior, the most points ever scored by a Warriors reserve in his first 2 games with the team since 1970-71, when starters were first officially recorded. Buddy Hield also, in his first 2 games this season, 12 made three-pointers, 5 at Portland, 7 at Utah. That's tied for the most by any player in their first 2 games of a season in NBA history, the most for any player in their first 2 games with a new team. The previous high was 11 by Kevin Huerter a couple of seasons ago, and also the most for a Warrior in their first 2 games with the franchise. The previous best was 9, set by Darrell Wright back in 2010-2011. So Buddy Hield is making some history in his first couple of games as a Warrior. So for me, the Take It to the Bank prediction, it's an easy over 2.5. And you might hear the band walking by behind me right now as everyone around here at Thrive City is just fired up for the beginning of the Warriors season. It is Clippers and Warriors tonight, first home game of the season for the Golden State Warriors. But that's my Take It to the Bank prediction, which is again brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking with no compromises. Buddy Hield over 2.5 made three-pointers. He was quoted after Game 1 Wednesday in Portland saying the last time he was getting shots like this, the last time he was this open was when he was playing basketball at Oklahoma. And essentially the Oklahoma offense was find space for Buddy Hield and let him shoot the basketball, and it worked. What year was that? That was must have been the 2013? No, the 2012, pardon me. It was the 2016 NCAA tournament when Buddy Hield led Oklahoma all the way to the Final Four. And it worked very well. But Buddy Hield is saying the last time he's been getting shots like this was all the way back when he was a Sooner playing basketball at the collegiate level. How about this also? And this relates to Buddy Hield. More about the bench scoring in general for the Golden State Warriors. Warriors reserves, which includes Buddy Hield, have scored a combined 151 points in the first 2 games of the season. They scored 71 at Portland and 80 at Utah. That's the most in NBA history through 2 games since starters were first tracked in 1970 and 71, and the most for the Warriors in any 2-game stretch. Crazy what the Warriors bench has been doing, and a big part of it is because the Warriors are just simply playing more bench players than any other team in the NBA. I mean, through 2 games, the Warriors have played all 14 players eligible to play in both games. And it's not like this is a number that's terribly influenced by the blowout nature of the games. I mean, the Warriors are playing 12 no matter what right now. They got a 12-man rotation going at the moment. The reason they've been playing 14 is because they don't need their starters to play in the fourth quarters when they win by 36 points and by 41 points like they have in each of the first 2 games this year. So they're playing 12 guys. It's a 12-man rotation. The starting lineup, I know it's been talked about a lot, but it is the hot topic right now for the Golden State Warriors. You're starting an interesting 5-man group. It's Steph Curry, along with Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, and Trace Jackson-Davis. Steve Kerr has said he's going to stick with that group. Some of the troubles for that group, well, I should say really all of the troubles for this group so far this season has been on the offensive end. And I think the Warriors were aware that that was probably going to happen, at least early in the season. When you have Trace Jackson-Davis and Draymond Green on the floor together, you know you're going to need shooting from elsewhere. You're getting shooting from Steph, of course, the greatest three-point shooter to ever live. And then you're going to need consistency in that area from both Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga. To Wiggins' credit, He's been good shooting the basketball. It's a small sample size so far this year, but he's been pretty good. Kuminga, after he shot the ball very well in the preseason, has struggled so far shooting the ball through 2 games. But, it's through just 2 games, and a lot can change the very small sample size. But that's why the offense has struggled from that starting group so far. However, Steve Kerr has also said that the plan for the Golden State Warriors, when you are going with that group, whether it's to begin a game or to begin the third quarter, it's for the defensive side of the basketball. And it's really hard to argue with what they've done defensively, especially on Friday in Utah when they only allowed 86 points. I mean, they stifled a Utah team who can fill up the hoop. I mean, you're talking about Lauri Markkanen and Jordan Clarkson. Jordan Clarkson has hurt the Warriors a lot in the past. Lauri Markkanen is one of the better players in the NBA, which is why Golden State was so eager to try to acquire him this offseason. But that's a good group, and the Warriors' defense all game long, but also that 5-man group did a really good job. That starting unit, again, Steph Curry and Andrew Wiggins and Jonathan Kuminga, Draymond Green, and Trayce Jackson-Davis, they had a slow beginning to the game. They played like the first 6 minutes together, and they were down by 9 when that group first got subbed out. They had a much better third quarter stint. They began the first quarter, began the third quarter, and in that third quarter stint, when they played their best basketball so far this season, it was because of what they did on the defensive end. The Golden State Warriors did it on the defensive end with that unit, and that is going to be the key. Draymond Green also said post-game on Friday that it's on him to make sure the team gets into their looks a little bit better offensively, and that's true as well. I think we see a little bit too much pressing from that group because you know that the weakness of that unit, that 5-man unit with Curry and Wiggins and Kuminga and Draymond and Trayce Jackson-Davis, the weakness is on the offensive end. You don't have a ton of shooting, so you're going to have to work a little bit harder and be a little bit more patient on the offensive end. And Draymond Green said the Warriors haven't been doing that yet through 2 games, and that's where he's got to be better because oftentimes he's the initiator. He's the initiator on the offensive end, even though he is playing the 4. Right? He plays point forward a lot of the time, and you have Steph Curry coming off of down screens and pin downs off ball, which is it works so well for the Warriors. But that is going to have to improve for that unit to get better offensively. But it's there defensively. When you have Wiggins, Kuminga, and Draymond on the floor together, and Trayce Jackson-Davis doesn't hurt you defensively, but against true, legit 7-foot centers, that's going to be a challenge. That's a good defensive group. You could also sub in like D'Anthony Melton for any one of the guys 1 through 3, for Steph Curry, for Wiggins, for Kuminga, and you've got a pretty good group there defensively as well. Now, Buddy Hield has been awesome, as we already talked about. My Take It to the Bank prediction brought to you by Fremont Bank was Buddy Hield more than 2.5 threes tonight. It seems like a lock given what he's done through 2 games. Obviously, if you could get that production in the starting group, it will make everything easier for Steph Curry and everybody else offensively. However, it is also nice to have that instant offense off the bench. And this is something we talked about on Warriors Wrap-Up on Friday evening. Steph Curry, Buddy Hield coming off the bench is something that the Warriors haven't really had the luxury of in a really long time. The Warriors haven't had that kind of scorer off the bench in a while. And, you go back to Jordan Poole when he was a big reason the Warriors won the championship in 2022, maybe a little less so in the postseason, but certainly in the regular season. The Warriors do not get the number of wins they did in that regular season without Jordan Poole, and he started for the whole first half of the season because of Klay Thompson's injury, but when Klay came back, Poole moved to the bench, and the Warriors closed that regular season really hot, and a big reason was because they had that scoring thump off the bench. And you can say whatever you want about Poole on the defensive end, much like you can say whatever you want about Hield on the defensive end. Certainly not his strength, although I think he's a better defender than Jordan Poole. Not that this is just compare and contrast Hield to Poole, but it is just nice to have that scoring guy off the bench. And the Warriors have that right now with Buddy Hield. So if this starting group works, then sure, you want to have Buddy Hield. However, what if the starting group struggles offensively more than it has already, and Steve Kerr feels like he's forced to make a change? What does that change entail? Who moves out of the starting lineup, and who moves back into it. Given what happened last year at times with the Warriors, I'm not so sure. Well, first of all, we know it's not Steph, and we know it's not Draymond, okay? Not Steph and not Draymond. We know at times there were moments where, Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors kind of butted heads. There was the report that he had lost faith in Steve Kerr and the Warriors after he was getting frustrated by not starting and minutes, and there was games where he didn't play in the second half when he could have helped the Warriors. He sat out for the whole fourth quarter when the Warriors blew a big lead to the Nuggets, and it became very drama-filled. Would that happen again if the Warriors take Kuminga off the bench? And if you do that, are you inserting Hield in the starting lineup? Are you moving Melton in the starting lineup? You have so many combinations that it's really hard to wrap your head around what might be the best one. And as long as the Warriors are winning, even if that starting group doesn't play great basketball on both ends, if the Warriors are winning basketball games, there's no huge pressure or need for the Warriors to change things up. If you're winning, keep experimenting and keep hoping you find something. Now, what may happen is if the Golden State Warriors start losing a couple of basketball games that maybe they shouldn't have, perhaps you point to a slow start out of the gates to begin the game, or out of the second half, out of halftime to begin the third quarter, and maybe the Warriors think about making a change there. But through 2 games, combined margin of victory, 77 points, there's no need to make a change for the Golden State Warriors. How about we take a couple of messages from the Xfinity or the Comcast Business text line. The 650 is chiming in. Grandi, will you consider this a real test, or is this a slightly tougher game? I'm not so sure if real test is the right word for this. It's interesting, 650, and appreciate the text. This is the largest margin line. If you are up to the betting vocab. Vegas says the Warriors are 9.5-point favorites tonight. That is a larger favorite than the Warriors were against the Blazers or against the Jazz. I think part of the reason why the Warriors are 9.5-point favorites is because Vegas has recognized what the Warriors have done through 2 games. Like, for example, if the Warriors were playing the Blazers tonight, they probably would be like 14-point favorites. But because the Warriors went into the game against Portland without any knowledge of really who this team was, I think that line was like 6.5, and the Warriors covered that one easy. It was a similar line in Salt Lake City. The Warriors covered that one easy. Now they're favored by 9.5, plus they're at home. It's a Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard, of course, without Paul George, who's no longer on the Clippers. It's not as good of a Clippers team certainly right now than it was last year, but I think no doubt this is a better Clipper team. This Clippers team is better than either the Jazz or the Blazers. Maybe not a real test. Like, the real test comes, I think, maybe Tuesday when the Pelicans come into town. The Pelicans are healthy now. Zion Williamson is healthy. Brandon Ingram, despite an offseason of uncertainty, is still there in New Orleans. They added Daniel Tice. They've got, of course, one of the best defenders in the league in Herb Jones. They've got Trey Murphy III, who's one of the best three-point shooters in the league. That is the Warriors' first real test of the season. This is a Clippers team, given who they have available tonight, that the Warriors should be able to beat, hence why they're 9.5-point favorites over the Clippers in this one tonight. All right, it's Warriors live here on 95.7 The Game. Marc, Grandi with you. I'm live from Che Fico Pizzeria at Thrive City. And how about this? If you don't know Che Fico Pizzeria, Che Fico is an Italian slang phrase which translates directly to what a fig. But in Italian, the slang phrase, what a fig, essentially means how cool. So this is very aptly named because this is a really cool place here at Thrive City. It's located on the east side of Chase Center. I'm overlooking the bay right now with the Bay Bridge off to my left. If you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, you can see Chase Center directly behind me. There's Warrior fans walking by. I even saw Joe Lacob walk by earlier. Of course, majority owner of the Golden State Warriors taking in this new establishment here at Thrive City ahead of the first regular season home game for the Warriors this season. And this place is really cool, much like Chase Center is, of course. All right, let's get to our out-of-town game of the night, which is sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. Wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. There's only 5 games across the NBA tonight. Warriors, of course, you've got Indiana and Philadelphia, Milwaukee and Brooklyn, New Orleans and Portland, and then Atlanta and Oklahoma City in our out-of-town game of the night, which is, again, sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. It is OKC and Atlanta, the Thunder playing host to Trae Young and the Hawks. OKC might be the best team in the Western Conference. They're off to a 2-0 start with road wins over Denver and Chicago. They open their home slate tonight just like the Warriors do. This game against the Hawks and the Thunder is already underway. The Hawks, by the way, an early lead. Early second quarter, 39-36 Atlanta over OKC. Keep an eye on that game throughout the night. But they're trying to get out to if you're trying to get out to the Sooner State to watch the game, you can plan a trip with SFO, perhaps for when the Warriors are in town, and that's coming up. The Dubs' only regular season visit to Oklahoma City is 2 weeks from today, Sunday, November 10th. And, of course, SFO can get you there. That is our out-of-town game of the night, which is, again, sponsored by the San Francisco International Airport. Wherever your team goes, you can get there from SFO. All right, that'll do it for Warriors Live here today on 95.7 The Game. My name is Marc Grandi. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll hand things off to Tim Roy and company. They're situated live inside of Chase Center right now. Tip-off is coming up in a little over 30 minutes. They'll get you situated with everything you need to know ahead of this basketball game. And then I'll be back with you for post-game Warriors wrap-up here on 95.7 The Game, as well as the Dubs try to move to 3-0 on the season. All right, Warriors Live is presented by Xfinity. At home or on the go, you'll get the fastest internet to all of your devices. Thanks so much for tuning in. Warriors basketball with Tim Roy and company is coming up next. Warriors, Clippers, the 2024-25 home opener for the Golden State Warriors is coming up next, and you can find it all right here on 95.7 The Game.
Do you often worry you left the garage door open? With a LiftMaster garage door opener powered by MyQ, you'll never worry again. You can control, secure, and monitor your garage from your smartphone anytime, from anywhere.